Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. I woke up this morning and wondered what our government wanted to gaslight us about today. So I opened up my phone and went to Twitter. Terrible mistake. I saw a screenshot of a post from Donald Trump on his social media platform that kind of just shows how out of touch these billionaires are with the people. The president goes on to say, just out, good news for the holiday season. Early prices are down while tariffs are making our country an economic power again. Also, virtually no inflation as stock markets continuously hit record highs. The best of all worlds for the USA. I guess R. Kelly's not the only one that likes to piss in people's faces, because what do you mean no inflation? Before we pick apart that tweet, if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe to join the thread. It's funny, I called it a tweet, but I guess because it's on Truth Social, I should be calling it a truth. So let's break down the truth. Tariffs, as much as I don't agree with the policy, are bringing money into the country. It's estimated that tariffs could bring $315 billion into the country by the end of the year. Currently, we're at $215 billion. That's not chump change to you or me, but when you look at the grand scope of the government operation, that is 5% of our federal budget, which we still haven't passed as we enter week 2 of a shutdown. What happens with this money? Well, not much. We end up having a lot of money on hand collected from the tariffs, but to use any of the money, it requires congressional appropriation, which is usually not too big of an issue, especially with the Republicans having a majority, but currently we are sitting in a shutdown. Nothing is getting done, so those funds are just collecting and nothing is happening. But even with that money totaled up in that large amount, does it actually do anything for the American consumer? The answer is really no. While tariffs do bring money into the country by taxing goods, a lot of the times the ramifications are felt in your pocket. One of the most extreme examples of this is what's going on with the farmers right now. As of recent, our government has been talking about bailing out our farmers and helping them in the midst of these tariffs. A lot of the grain and soybean exports that we do for other countries have been halted because of these tariffs. So while they're expected to bring in funds in the neighborhood of $300 billion, if we're spending that money on bailouts and to prop up the sectors hurt by these tariffs, then it's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Speaking of bailouts, America just actually gave one to Argentina and it backfired in the worst way. We gave Argentina $20 billion to prop up their economy, and if you're wondering why we did it, well, I'm glad you asked. Rob Citron, a very well-connected hedge fund billionaire who has been heavily invested in Argentina over the past 5 years or so, reached out to the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to request this bailout. Another layer to this corruption is the fact that Rob Citron credits himself with making Scott Bessent rich when they both used to work under George Soros. It is literally a club that you cannot get into. A hedge fund billionaire, the Treasury Secretary, are both connected to George Soros. You can go and make money, you can do as much as you want, but you'll just never be in that club. But what went wrong? This sounds like an average American bailout. Well, after receiving the bailout, Argentina turned around and sold soybeans at a discounted price to China. Scott Bessent died on the hill about saying this was about strategic interest. But this is the stuff that gets washed up in the news cycle and nobody ever hears about. But overall, tariffs not great for the economy. They bring in revenue, but the consumer will never see this. And they also affect prices. He brought up the holiday season, so let's see how this is going to affect the holiday season. The holiday season thrives on people having extra income. That requires jobs, savings, maybe even low prices. But tariffs and inflation really make that impossible this year. With the market being as unpredictable as it is, companies are not feeling comfortable enough to hire. Recent news show that US hiring plans have synced to the lowest since 2009. The labor market has already been slowing down, but at this point, it's hit full brakes. People are afraid to leave and companies aren't looking to hire. While the layoffs are not too bad at the moment, they are only going to rise as time passes. Okay, so going to the holiday season, if you don't have a job now, it's going to be hard to get a job. If you're unemployed, you know how it is out there. This is no surprise. How about for the people who do have a job, who have steady income coming in? Are you going to be able to afford your gifts this year? Well, that's where the real bad news comes in. Because of these tariffs, companies are already saying that they will not be offering the same discounts as they have years before. And honestly, that's no surprise. It feels like every single year, the discounts, the sales, the Black Fridays, the Christmas shopping, it just gets worse. You might have a couple things that see a very big discount, but mostly everything's like 20% off, and it just feels like you're paying the pre-inflation price and not like pre-inflation 2016. Like if you buy it in today, you might be paying 2022 prices on sale. And these tariffs hit all the things that you would buy during the holiday season. Toys, hardware, it's even stopping some families from decorating their house for the holidays. One of the issues of America being so reliant on China for so many decades is the fact that a lot of the toys, games, decorations, everything that we really use are made there. So we will see a 15 to 20% increase on those things. So we have shown that tariffs actually bring prices prices up, not down, and the economic power gained from tariffs is essentially undone because of the economical impact from them as well. Okay, he's currently 0 for 4 right now, but he has 2 more points that he could really prove me wrong on. Let's look at inflation, because that is something that I'm tired of dealing with, and maybe he is seeing something that I'm not. From the data that we do have, inflation is currently sitting at 2.9%. This number was given back in August and was a 0.4% increase from the month before, the highest jump we've seen month to month since January of this year. But that's not where the pain stops. That 2.9% is taking all things in consideration and getting a rate that way. If you look at individual things, they're way higher than that. Food has risen 3.2% from just last year. You really see this when you focus in on certain products. I drink coffee and I'm noticing it in the prices that I pay. Coffee has jumped 3.6% from just July. That is almost 21% higher than this time last year. Ground beef is almost 13% higher than a year ago. Steak is almost 17% higher than a year ago. But at least eggs have stabilized somewhat, and while the prices are not going up, they still are 10% higher than we spent last year. It's funny, during the election, a lot of the reasons people voted for Donald Trump is because they said he was more attentive than Sleepy Joe. But then a year later, and it's like, he's tweeting out just the same propaganda that the last guy did. They're just saying that their economy was the best and that it only goes up from here, while millions and millions of young individuals miss out on opportunities because the rich people juggle our chances. But enough of my spiel. Let's turn to the stock market. You guys know how much I hate when politicians use the stock market to prop up their bad business policy. He would have been 0 for 4 if he didn't mention the stock market in this post. He would have been 0 for 3, but I am a fair person. I will give him 1. He is 1 for 4 on this post. The stock market has been hitting all-time highs, but let's look at why that is. When you look at the S&P 500 and see how well it's performed, especially since 2022, you have to think that most of the 500 are seeing record profits. But in reality, it is really the S&P 10. And from those 10, it's really the Mag 7. The 7 top companies working and investing all their money into AI. People say this is a bubble. I agree with them. But the thing about investing is bubbles are normal. It's a part of the cycle. The issue with bubbles is not necessarily them popping. Investors plan for this. And again, it's part of the cycle. You make a lot of money while the bubble goes and you take it out before the bubble pops. But nobody knows when the bubble pops. And when the bubble does pop, the people affected are the people who never got in the market in the first place. The stock market, in my opinion, has never been a good measure of how the economy is doing. It is simply a playground for the wealthy to be speculative with their money. And usually when there's a lot of speculation and money being thrown around is right around the time a crash likes to come. Many people have been coining the term Gilded Age 2.0. If you're not familiar with the Gilded Age, it was a time in history around the late 19th century to the early 20th century that was remembered by a superficial appearance to seem rich and put the idea that there was a lot of growth being had. This front was put on to mask widespread poverty, political corruption, and vast inequality. Currently, 10% of America is doing 50% of the spending. As the stock market hits new highs, the average person is missing out on these because they don't have the liquid capital to invest. And I always find it funny when you tell people that rent is up, food is up, electric is up, they'll look you dead in the eye and say, well, the stock market is fine. The top 10% does 50% of the spending, and they also own 87% of the stocks. And even when you look into that number closer, the top 1% really own half of all stocks. The stock market can be a great place for wealth creation, but most people will never have enough funds to really benefit from its output. And time again, people never prepare for the crash. They don't have enough money to prepare for a crash. We are using the stock market as a figure to show that our economy is healthy, when it is purely a place of speculation. Companies are getting evaluated at prices that are maybe 40 times the actual worth of the companies, and we're banking on AI figuring all the problems out, because humanity as we know it is getting dumber by the day. If the stock market is hitting all-time highs while our system looks as dysfunctional as this, then I think we need to reevaluate the system in general. How can it benefit the top 10, let alone the top 1, as the rest of the 90s struggle to get by? The middle class is disappearing, and with the cost of living going up, so is poverty. If we deny the cries of our own people just to look at a stock market and use that as justification to say that we're on the right path, then we've truly lost the plot and we are in danger. Just to add a little bit of salt to that injury, Robinhood, the banking app that many people use to make these trades and invest in the stock market, has had more and more outages lately. And when you think about how dangerous that is, that your money that you think you're accumulating accumulating and getting returns on can be locked away behind your account just because the servers are down and you are helpless. All you can do is wait for Robinhood to get it together, but in that time, major market collapses can happen because the stock market is pure speculation. If it does good tomorrow or the next day, nobody knows. We're all just betting and hoping that it stays together. But who's to say that Robinhood won't have a crash right when everything takes a downturn? The stock market is not liquid. If we were all to pull our money out right now, there would be a huge financial crisis. So when you use the stock market as an indication of a good economy, you are spitting in the face of real workers and real assets to prop up speculation and imaginary numbers that people don't have to answer for. You know, one of the worst things I've realized starting this YouTube channel and making these videos, trying to give you guys a look on what's going on and make it more tangible for the average person. I find myself arguing with the government, and the arguments get more nonsensical as we go. I shouldn't have to make this video rebutting the president. I should have so much on my plate at my age that I shouldn't need to do this, and there's no opportunity to be had. Don't even look at me, because I may not be the most qualified person of Gen Z to use as an example, but many people I know, even some of you in the comment section, are a constant proof and reminder to me that young people who are talented, skilled, and ready and ambitious to go out there and work are being denied opportunity because the people generations above us don't care. Nobody that's in power has a hope of living past 10 years. I've talked about this before. There is just a disconnect. They are not worried about the outcome of these policies and what happens next. If that Scott Besson deal with Argentina doesn't show you what's happening, then you need to open your eyes. These people are securing even more wealth for what's to come ahead. When poverty, system collapse, and market collapse take over, they'll just be in their bunkers or their islands, separated from the problems that we'll have to deal with. I have a video coming out very soon about the Gen Z protests happening around the world and why it's kind of a double-edged sword. I've had battles making this video with myself because while I do see a lot of positive in the things being done, like the people fighting back in Nepal and all the One Piece imagery used to back up these movements, I remember reading in 2018, back when it was more of a conspiracy rather than a plan being carried out, that the whole grand plan for the 2020s was system collapse. The idea that you will own nothing, you will want nothing, you will just be happy with the bare minimum was the checklist they were trying to accomplish for the 2020s, and things are falling right into place. We need to detach ourselves from the mindset that the people in power are not aware of the things they're doing. All the mismanagement, the constant gaslighting, the pushing back on the truth is to push this mass psychosis on the population as quickly as possible. They are waiting for civil war to happen and are using anything to push that. Look at the constant red and blue division. Look at how they handled the Charlie Kirk situation. Look at how they're weaponizing the government against you. And this is not just red side, this is blue side as well. For me to act like this just happened in 2025 would be ridiculous. This has been going on since 2020. I want you as a young person to wake up to the reality that many people across the world are. The government is not always in your favor. Do things to protect yourself and get away from the impact that their mistakes will have. Not 100%. The road is very uncertain at the moment. While all the signs point to a recession and all the stats and graphs we have point to a market collapse pending, the aftermath of this crash is unprecedented. Many people are hinting at 2027 will be a very big year in a not great way, and you need to prepare yourself for what's to come. Do not be blindsided. Make sure you have real assets. Keep cash just in case banks go down. Make sure there's a way to get power to your location if that's possible. I'm not telling you to go full prepper. Who knows? Nothing may happen. But the reason we're even in this place now is because the over-reliance on bigger systems. The more money we funnel to the top, the more it got misused. Even if things don't go sour, you don't want to adopt the average American mindset. The government should be small and stay out of your life. It should not be the thing that comes to rescue us. Instead of uniting as a people against a corrupt system, we've just separated into two different corrupt parties. The sooner you wake up and understand that the only person who has your interest in mind is yourself, the quicker you get freed from the shackles of debt and this new form of slavery. I know I went on a ramble and this is a longer video than usual, but I had to debunk the lies that are coming from the Oval Office. If I was around when Biden was president, I would probably be doing the same thing at an insane rate, but I can't go back and change the time. I can only focus about what happens from here on out. If you took the time to hear my views on this, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Am I being pessimistic about the future, or am I giving us too much leeway in thinking that we can stop what's coming? Don't forget to like and subscribe to join the thread. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Transmission complete. Signal terminating. This is Ghost Thread, signing off.